Objection!
Hello everybody, this is Keegan from DuoReview again. For like this is the third time, this is the third part of this review. If you haven't watched the other two, the first part is literally just a plain old review, and this one, this is like part of my spoilers set. Originally, I didn't plan for this to be 2 parts to a video. I very quickly realized how long it takes me to talk about this though, because, I love it, it's like the best thing ever, so what do you expect? As with the last video, I'm gonna warn you, this is a spoiler video, and, this should be apparent from the title, so if you haven't watched the series yet, you probably shouldn't be watching this. In fact, I'd recommend you go watch the anime. I say this like every single episode, watch the first episode, like the entire one, like all the way through, and you'll kind of get why I like it so much just to begin with, but you won't really have the full picture, because this anime likes its twists quite a bit. I mean, literally, I feel like every single time I go back and watch these episodes, I find more stuff that just adds questions. But, yeah, needless to say, this is the second half. I'm going to be talking about the second half of the episodes, but, mostly focusing on 8 and then the last 3. But, without further ado, on to the review! Because I'm not going to say it in the weird way I did before. By the way, this is the third part of the overall series review, and the second part of the spoilers review. If you haven't watched the other 2, the links will be in the description. Also, bear in mind that this episode has major spoilers. If you've yet to watch the series, I'd suggest you go do so right now. Anyways, we left off on episode 6, with a shocking reveal about what is really going on with Megane. I would move on to episode 7, but the only thing of importance right now is that Miki finds one of Megane's keys. I will be bringing up episode 7 later, as there is something important I'd like to discuss, but that will be near the end of the video. In episode 8, Yuri and Miki decide to go looking for what that key Megane had would open. They search around for a bit, but Miki only manages to find a picture of Megane, which by the way, freaking geez, adorable again. Yuki wakes up a little later and then decides to help them in their search. This leads to many hilarious scenes, but I think this one takes the cake for being the funniest. Eventually, Yuki actually manages to find the box. They open it up and they find something very interesting in there. In there, they find an old emergency document that seems to blatantly hint at the fact that the people of the school at least knew about the impending disaster. Even worse is that it sounds like they actually might have started the epidemic in some way. I'm not completely sure. It wasn't specific enough. This is one of the very few twists that wasn't really explained as well. I'm guessing it'll be in a second season. We'll talk about that later. Anyways, this twist, while not quite as impactful as the one with Megane, is still quite a sad one. Throughout the series, I did start to notice the hints they left behind, so I was at least a little bit more prepared for this. Still though, it was a painful realization. This tragedy that has caused each of these 4 girls to go through ridiculous amounts of toil and suffering. This eternal disaster that has not only taken their friends and family, but even someone as adorable as Megane away. This calamity could have been avoided if the school had told somebody. The reactions are not only acceptable, but they're really real looking. It was at this moment that I realized exactly how much character these characters actually have. By this point in the story, I was far beyond invested in each and every one of them. They were presented in such a way that honestly made them seem human, which is quite an accomplishment considering most anime fails to do that. And the worst part is, this is just the beginning. Little did I know the emotional and arduous journey that I was about to traverse. It was going to be a long and painful one. The last 3 episodes are where I honestly started to lose it emotionally. They are without a doubt the most heart-wrenching chapters of this anime. From the immediate start of the 10th episode, there's a noticeable tone shift. It no longer feels quite as happy. It's almost as if it's trying to warn you about the events soon to transpire. It's made even more apparent when Yuki, who enters the room searching for Terumaru, almost seems lifeless. Kurumi, Miki, and Yuki go out to search for Terumaru, with Kurumi searching on her own. She eventually tracks him down to the section-off basement level. When she finds him, though... Yeah, that's happened. She leads him into a side room and hears a noise from the water-filled hallway below. She walks in to confront the thing that did this to Terumaru and... Oh no. No. Megane! No! Why did you have to be a zombie? All of this time I was holding on to some vain hope that she might still be alive. I don't know, just something. In a way, I guess I still got my wish. Still best waifu 2015. Kurumi tries to get her, but that doesn't go so well either. This scene was a horrifying one to watch for me. Not only was Megane completely dead, but now Kurumi is in extreme danger as well. It is ridiculously tragic to see the group's reactions to this. Yuki in specific seems to finally be cracking under the pressure. Thankfully, that emergency document did mention a cure, but unfortunately, it's in the basement. With Megane. Yeah. Miki enlists herself to go find the cure, but the minute she lays eyes on Terumaru's bowl, she breaks into tears. Oh, I forgot to mention, in the 9th episode, Terumaru and her finally make up. It's kind of important and I forgot, so... yeah. This is one of those moments where I just wanted to give Miki a hug. It's genuinely depressing to see her reaction. It all ends with... well, this. Also, the zombies get into. Yay. Everyone is completely screwed. When episode 11 begins, shit immediately hits the fan. Yuki has already begun to crack, Kurumi is already beginning her descent into becoming a zombie, and Miki is still in tears as the zombies approach her. Oddly enough, Yuki actually saves Miki in this scene. It really goes to show that Yuki's finally getting a grip on reality. After a touching moment with Miki and Yuki, Miki realizes that she's the only one capable of saving Kurumi, and thus sets off to get the medicine that's in the basement. As expected though, Miki isn't quite used to dealing with the undead, and has quite a bit of trouble. She's not quite strong enough to hold the shovel as well, and can't do very much damage with the zombies. Thankfully, she does eventually get there, but she ends up sacrificing the CD player, which was her only memento of her friend Kay. Great decisions. Yuri is going through a state of mental panic, as she's debating whether she will have to kill her best friend. Her expression is horrifyingly sad, and it really gets to me how real it looks. In the end, she can't bring herself to do it, but there was a genuine fear in her eyes when she was about to do it. It really scares me, even though I know what's gonna happen. Now, everything rests on Miki. When she gets to the basement, Megane is there waiting for her. This exchange is extremely sad. Again, Megane was my favorite character, and I knew from the second it started what was going to happen. Depressive as it is, even ending with the real death of Megane, it is still a beautiful scene. Though I was sad to see that there was no way Megane was coming back at all, I was happy to see this scene. I have never seen a character killed off quite as beautifully as this. It brought a tear to my eye as well, which wasn't just because of sadness, but because of joy. No matter what though, it was finally time for me to say farewell to my favorite character in the series. Goodbye, Megane. You'll probably still be a ghost once you're gone, but that doesn't really make a difference. You never had much of a presence anyways. JK. Miki does get the medicine, but the alarm triggered by the lack of power attracts most of the zombies to her. she's forced to flee into a nearby room, which Terumaru seems to leave from, where she is completely alone and completely screwed. Yuki realizes what's at stake and proceeds to the broadcasting room, guided by Megane, of course. As Yuki goes there, she has one more flashback to the past, which is pretty sad. And then one last meeting with Megane, which is... oh, who am I kidding? The entire ending of this episode was just depressing. They made sure to drill it firmly into my head that she was gone and that she was not coming back. That last scene with Yuki crying in the same spot where Megane died is just terrible. At this point, I couldn't help it anymore. I literally burst into tears. It may have happened before, but this scene was the one that really hurt. I can't describe to you the intense emotions these last 3 episodes put you through. That reminds me, there's still episode 12. It is easily the most depressing episode out of the bunch. And it's not just because what you would expect. As Yuki is heading to the broadcast room, she is ambushed. Having never dealt with them, though, she has no means of defense and gets quickly captured. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, Terumaru, who had been let out by Yuki, comes to save the day. Don't worry, though, it's not for a stupid reason. He's still a zombie, but there's still memories left inside of him. Yuki then realizes that that was the answer the whole time. She walks up to the intercom, turns it on, and simply tells the students that the school day is over. That's it. That's all that was needed. To some, it may seem kind of out of nowhere or lazy, but it's not. It was clearly hinted at many times. The fact that she reuses the same lines from the first episode is not only heavily symbolic, but was enough to bring a little tear to my eye. It was pretty sad. They took a bunch of lines that I originally found cheesy and lame and used it in such a way as to give it much more layers of depth and meaning than I ever could have expected. The zombies do end up leaving, which does allow Miki to escape and everybody to become safe. The next morning, they all wake up to find Kurumi is, yes, alive and well. It's a touching and happy moment, at least until Terumaru is shown, who is still suffering from his injuries. There are some serious questions about whether he will survive or not. They give him a bit of food and water, and it finally seems like Miki and him have made up and that he's going to be fine. Then... What the heck, guys? I was completely sure he was gonna live, but the second her eyes widened, I knew what had been done. This is where I officially lost it. The whole funeral scene is just horribly depressing. The thing that sticks with me the most, though, is what Yuki says.
悲しいことをあんまり我慢してるとね、大切なことを忘れちゃうから。私、みんなの先生でよかった。私もメグ姉のさ。
It shows a ridiculous amount of development, considering that her life thus far was just that. Watching Miki finally break down in this scene always hurts, but it's a beautiful scene nonetheless. After they discuss a bit, including something about, a possible smaller dog, is probably not important, might talk about it later, they decide to leave the school. It is no longer safe there, there's no power, there's not much food, they have no refrigeration. They are in serious trouble if they don't leave at some point. In true Yuki fashion, though, she still wants to have a graduation before they leave. Oh boy, that scene was depressing. When Yuki gives her speech, it's honestly one of the most saddening things I've ever seen, and never fails to get me to tear up. When it's all over, including a slightly sad sounding song that plays during the whole scene, Yuri gives one last goodbye to Megane. Freaking damn it, stop doing that to me. I'm already horribly sad. Stop reminding me that she's dead. They finally set off to another supposedly safe place and happen to pass by someone who looks an awful lot like Kay. Poor Miki. It all finally ends when they drive away with the School Live opening theme playing, and then maybe a hint at a possible season 2. I don't know. And thus, we finally reached the end of this fantastic storyline. Words cannot express the deep emotion embedded within these 3 masterful episodes. It's really an emotional roller coaster from beginning to end. From the hopeless and depressing beginnings to the cheerful yet somber ending, these last 3 episodes continue to impress me. Very few things have ever made me cry, but this is definitely the one that affected me the most. If you don't understand how sad it really is, let me put it this way. I have a friend named Troy. He is, at least he claims, lacking in a lot of emotions. This finale, however, actually did make him cry. Not only is that impressive, but it's honestly partially a miracle. The saddest part about the ending, though, is just that. The ending. It's over. And that's really not good for me. I have always hated when things end, and this is definitely in the same case. It is, however, not lacking in hope. The ending where the girl picks up the letter attached to balloons from episode 7 is a strong hint towards a second season. Only time will tell, but I sure hope it does happen. I honestly can't think of any legit criticism beyond cheap nitpicks. All I can say is that season 2 is going to have to be just as masterful to meet the quality of the first season. I sincerely hope that it can, but until then, I'm happy just to have gotten this. To think that if it weren't for Troy forcing me to watch it, I would have quit in the middle of the first episode and never known how good this anime really is. This anime, as cheesy as it sounds, means a lot to me. Somehow, even with the rocky start, it managed to continually sweep me off my feet. There aren't many things that have ever made me this attached, but this is definitely one of them. It emotionally affected me in many ways, not just sadness and joy, and this surprises me quite a bit. I went in expecting to hate it, and was met with an absolute masterpiece. From its happy, amazing, and very shocking beginning to its emotional ending, this show blew me away. It's a strange feeling, honestly. Most of my life, I've been primarily a gamer. I only started watching anime as of last year. Who would have thought that the thing that would hit me this hard wouldn't be a game, but an anime? All the same though, it did blow me away. It's not that often I even focus on something this long. Most things are forgotten by me in a matter of weeks. Not this though. Sure, I might be the only person in existence who feels this way, but that's what's so great about life. Almost everyone has one thing that speaks to them on this level, and mine just happens to be this anime. So, to conclude, Gakkou Gurashi means more to me than any other piece of fictional media. Period. At the moment, nothing comes close. To some, it may just be a decent anime, but to me, it's something well beyond that. I'm not ashamed to admit it, and no one should be. You love something this much, that's completely fine. But for me, this is my favorite piece of fictional media of all time. Hey everybody, if you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I know this has been a long time coming. It's been like a month of working on it, but it's finally done, and I've finally gotten this off my chest. If you're wondering, yes, I'm working on some other videos right now, but I hope you enjoyed this one in specific. It's been a long project, but it's definitely been my favorite thing to make. Well, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!